First story. Is that bad for not wanting to close our open marriage after my wife pressured me to open it and now regrets it? I, 34M, and my wife, 32F, have been together for 8 years, married for 4. About a year ago, my wife brought up the idea of opening our marriage. She said she had been feeling like she needed to explore her sexuality and connections with others, and that she might consider divorce if we didn't try this. I was completely against the idea. But after a month of her bringing it up constantly, I agreed, thinking maybe it could bring some new energy into our relationship, too. Since we opened up, she's met several men and seems to be enjoying the freedom. I struggled initially. I didn't have any matches or success on dating apps, and it really started to affect my self-esteem. But about 6 months into this, I met Amanda at a work party. Amanda is aware of my open marriage, and we've really hit it off. We've been seeing each other quite frequently, and honestly, she's fantastic. I've discovered a new side of myself with her, and the no strings attached arrangement is something I've come to really enjoy. Here's the issue. My wife has become increasingly jealous and uncomfortable with my relationship with Amanda. Despite her ongoing connections with other men, she's asked me to close our marriage again. She even apologized for pressuring me into opening it up in the first place and admitted she thought it would be different. She thinks I'm in love with Amanda, which is clearly not the case. Amanda is seeing other people too, but she is not exclusive with anyone as far as I can tell. Now, my wife wants to go back to being exclusive, but I don't want to. Amanda has been great for me in ways I hadn't anticipated. My self-esteem is really through the roof and the sex has been the best I had in my life. And I feel like I'm finally experiencing something that I didn't even know I was missing. My wife is really mad about it and insists we close our marriage immediately. So, is that bad for not wanting to close our marriage now that I've found someone who makes me happy? Even though it was originally my wife's idea to open it. Second story. Is it time to end my marriage? My husband, 50M, and I, 43F, have developed some toxic patterns over nearly 20 years of marriage. We have 3 kids, 2 in college and 1 in high school. Things have never been great, but it's gotten so much worse in recent years. Now, my children have picked up the toxicity, and I absolutely hate it. He uses our kids to hurt me in whatever way possible. My sons yell and curse at me, and he absolutely never steps in to defend me or tell them to stop. I have so much frustration about this and don't understand how a man can just watch that happen. Even if he hates me, allowing this is just terrible parenting. In the last year, all of this has taken a major toll on my mental health. I'm seeing a great therapist now, and I am in a much better place emotionally, but my marriage is still awful. I hate coming home from work and do everything I can to avoid being here. For the entirety of our marriage, we've had this ridiculous cycle of fighting, not working anything out, getting tired of fighting, pretending things are okay, fighting again. Rinse. Repeat. Marriage counseling has not been helpful at all because he pretends to be a completely different person in therapy, and I feel gaslit angry. I am not a perfect wife and am working on my own toxic patterns in therapy. I know that things won't get better between us. And with our last kid graduating from high school soon, I believe it's the right time to make a change. I just can't take that step. This marriage is all I've known for most of my adult life. He makes a lot more money than I do. I don't have a family support system as I went no contact with my parents due to abuse in my childhood and continued manipulation of myself and my children. I guess I just need some help to make it stop. How do I end it once and for all? I've been in this place for so long and hate that I'm frozen in fear. Long-term marriage is toxic and affecting children. How do I know if it's time to divorce? Third story. Hurt, depressed, and having a hard time moving forward. My STBXW, 25F, and I, 26M, were together for almost 6 years. and would have been married 4 years come July and have a beautiful daughter together who turns 2 shortly after what would have been our anniversary. Because I'm going to post and hear about my issues, I'll come clean right away and say that I could have been better in some ways, one major one. But I always did my best for my wife and daughter. We met in college through some friends of ours and started dating really quickly. She was basically moved into my apartment 2 weeks into us dating, and even then I knew and told my closest friends that I was going to marry her one day. She was the love of my life, honest, funny, charming, sweet, loved children, understanding, and gorgeous. We were both going through a tough time, but she was always there for me and I for her. I helped her deal with trauma from a sexual assault before me. I helped pay for some of her schooling and exams even when I hardly had a dime because I saw it as me investing in my future. I loved her more than anything. She was my world and my home. A couple years in, I failed out of my program. She continued on with hers and ended up becoming a teacher, and this year was her first year teaching. I, on the other hand, went and enlisted in the Navy for their nuclear program. Shortly before boot camp, I thought about leaving her because I didn't know if she could handle the military wife life. And quite honestly, I was scared that I wouldn't be a good husband to her, especially after seeing how abusive my father was growing up. She sealed the deal for me that we should marry when she told me, "No matter what hurdles come our way, I'm not giving up on you. I've seen you at your lowest so far and I still want just you." She had seen me at my lowest at that point and I believed her, so before I left for boot camp we got married. Fast forward about a year, we were living together in housing on base and decided to start trying for a child. Our first attempt ended in a miscarriage that really hurt us both. She ended up becoming depressed, and so did I. That we saw a counselor on base. I was apprehensive about it before because my father was the son of a psychiatrist, and most of my childhood felt like a game of chess. It hurt me seeing her so hurt that I wanted to try just for her. They were so awful to both of us that I never wanted to go see another counselor again. Fast forward almost another year and we had our beautiful daughter. During the time before our daughter, we never really ever fought. In fact, most arguments were able to be solved in a long talk with each other, where we were able to see the other side and work on ourselves for the other. Following our daughter, I began to work more hours with longer days, 7 days on 2 days off as a part of my schooling. There were some days that I was up for 24+ hours, just so we could get things done like shopping or housework, and on top of that just helping with the newborn. I always made the meals when I wasn't working. I would wake up at night when our daughter needed to be changed and fed, even when it wasn't my turn to do so, just to show support. I wanted to show as much support as I could because by this time, she had been diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. I asked her to see a counselor for it, but she never did. I became more depressed and began to drink more. I was never abusive and was always able to help with our daughter, but I definitely drank more than I should. She had asked me to go see a therapist by this point, but after our earlier experience, and her not ever seeing one herself, I just didn't want to go. After schooling, I finally got my first duty station that we moved to about a year ago. It was then that the changes between us really started happening. We were no longer intimate, maybe once every couple months, didn't really talk much and didn't take time to date each other anymore. It seemed like we were just going through the motions. Dad goes to work. Mom stays home and tries to supplement the income with online tutoring, and baby goes to daycare. Dad comes home, Mom does more online work. Dad makes dinner, gets baby cleaned and fed, all while Mom just works. Granted, having a daughter who was almost a year old by this time made it hard. And living off only my paycheck alone for a while was another challenge. But it always seemed like I was no longer a priority. It began to feel like she got exactly what she wanted from the marriage and was done with me. She got married, left Andy like she always wanted, had a child, but now all the interest was just gone. I tried voicing my concerns to her, but it was always met with, "I'm just tired," or "my hormones are affecting me," or just a simple social media video that she showed me. At this point, I became so frustrated with our marriage that I thought about infidelity myself. I never did anything. I felt so disgusted with myself that I brought this up to my wife and let her see all my accounts and my phone to prove it. She was hurt, of course. No one wants to ever hear that, but we agreed to try couples therapy. Every time I set up an appointment, her schedule, she was working at a school now, just never seemed to work. Same with weekend sessions. Shortly after this, I left for what ended up being a 6-month deployment. When I got time to call and send out emails, I always did. I always made sure to update her on what I did or what was happening when I could. For the first couple months, things were fine, but the emails got shorter, phone calls more apathetic, and she began to tell me she didn't know if she wanted to stay anymore. When this started happening, I asked if there was another man. She told me no. When I got home, she stated acting strange and distant to me. I chalked it off to just awkwardness that follows a spouse returning from a long deployment. The first couple days were great. It felt like my family was back together as it should have been. After that, she told me she didn't know if she wanted to keep things going. A few days later, she asked for a divorce. A few days after that, she finally confessed that she had been seeing a co-worker of hers for a few months. Each one of those times we talked, I asked if there was another man, and each time she said no until the last. All during this time she kept going to his house late at night, into the early hours of the morning, and was just never home. When she finally confessed to me she had been cheating, it was after I scheduled a couples therapy session for us. She told me she didn't want to go because I didn't add value to her life, and that she was tired of trying. Since this point, I've filed for separation and started therapy to address my own issues. I have had to listen to her masturbate in the room we both would sleep in while I sleep on the couch. I have had to watch her get dressed up and dolled up to go see this other man, and seen her spend money from our joint account on dates with him. She hardly ever sees her own child anymore, and I'm usually the only person that takes care of her while she goes out. She still lives with me until July, and it's been so hard to start moving on. I know I messed up, but did I deserve all this? Do I deserve this pain? And for those of you out there that have finally moved on, when did you start to feel like yourself again? Update. Finally got admission of cheating, or as close as possible to it. So, today I asked my STBXW again her exact move-out date. Turns out it's at the beginning of July instead of July 15th as I was led to believe. I was getting really upset and frustrated because now I have to plan for an extra month that I thought I would have support with rent on a house that she renewed the lease for, year-long. 4 days before I flew home from a 6-month deployment. If you want more context, look at previous posts. Reason I was so upset is because now I have to find a roommate to help supplement my rent. And I'll have to look at pool of complete strangers, which is concerning because I have a 2-year-old that I'll have at home every other week. Well, she tried to blame shift me and accuse me of not planning ahead. Because I totally should have planned on my spouse cheating on me. I brought up the fact that she had been cheating on me for months and is still seeing AP. She countered with this, "I'm getting my shit taken care of despite everything. Don't act like you're the only person with feelings or that I was the only one had something to do with all of this." I was missing some level of admission of guilt or proof that she had been cheating the whole time. Now, I've got it. Can't wait to send this out to the in-laws after all this is done. While I'm not expecting them to take my side or anything, I actually want them to support her because she does need a support system as the mother of my child. I do want them to know that they aren't seeing their grandchild as much from here on out, not because of me, but because of her actions. It won't change the past, or really even the future that much, but at least it sets the record straight. Update. Would I be taking it a step too far? So you're probably wondering how I got here, And if you'd like to know, just look at my previous posts. But today the STBXW and I kinda got into it again over text over our daughter's childcare. I'm in the service, so I get assistance with childcare, and while I was on deployment, she handled it all and handled it before, because she made the account for it anyways since she wasn't working at the time. Anyways, she emailed me, then proceeded to text me about it even though we both got the same email. She felt the need to remind me that she's no longer responsible for handling it and that I need to take over now. I used words she's used on me before by saying, like I said, I have it taken care of. I know what I'm responsible for, you don't need to remind me. She then tells me, I sent a text rather than another email, relax, it's not that serious. We then went back and forth and I find out she already paid for her security deposit and first month's rent, but never took it out of our joint account, so I wouldn't know, and continued to waste some of the money before we split it. Again, if you'd like more context, go check previous posts. Since then, I've thought about getting really petty and even vindictive with her. I'm still a joint owner on a savings account that she has at my bank still, and I'm considering starting to transfer money from that account to my own personal savings to make up for the money she wasted on things that weren't related to her moving out like we agreed upon. I told her at one point that from here on out, unless it's about our daughter and her child care, to just talk to my lawyer, to which she said, that's not how this works. This is kind of turning more into a rant more than anything. But I want to know for BPs like myself who have already come out to the other side. If I followed through with this, and yes, I will get legal advice before I do, is this a step too far? And also, how did you manage to go no contact with the child involved, because I'm struggling with it at the moment. She moves out the 17th, but what are some things that you have done to protect yourself from your ex? Update. Resources for raising a daughter as a divorced dad? So, my divorce hasn't been finalized yet but will be soon. I was just wondering if anyone had any suggestions for resources on how to raise a child as a soon-to-be single father? My STBXW has a degree in early childhood education and has always shoved the research or knowledge she has from her degree in my face. While I do take most of what she says to heart and actually follow what she demands I do, because I don't have a degree like she does, I want to do my own homework and get my own base of knowledge, so if I disagree with her on something I actually have something to stand on. Thank you in advance. Update. Should I tell her family? Just wanted to start by saying to everyone who's here, new and old, thank you for all the support through this time. You've really helped make this easier. If you'd like a backstory, please feel free to read my previous posts, but I'm kind of at a crossroads right now of what I should do. I'm back home visiting friends and family before I have to go back to where I live. I brought my daughter with me, and the in-laws asked to have my daughter for a day or two while I'm here. I said yes to them because I don't want to cut them out, even though she cut my family out for months. As the title suggests, I'm struggling to decide whether I should let something slip about STBXW's affair when they pick up my daughter or not. Also, since being here, I've seen people myself. Granted, divorce is almost finalized. She's the one who stepped out. And I've held out for a couple months before making the decision to get out there and decide whether I was ready to do so or not. Unfortunately, I can't help but feel a slight tinge of guilt too. Now I've stepped out from a marriage that hasn't even been annulled over paper. Am I just as bad as her? Wrestling with this at the moment and open to any and all criticism and advice. Update. First taste of what things will look like after she moves out. As always, if you would like context, recommend looking at previous posts. But this will serve as a little update to my previous post on whether or not I should tell STBXW's family about her affair. I still haven't. I really wanted to, but the conversation and time spent seeing her family made it feel wrong to bring it up. They're dropping off our daughter with me today before we fly back to Florida on Friday. If I get the chance or they ask why we're getting a divorce, I'll come out with it. If not, I'll wait till after the divorce and show them what I have from screenshots. Still wrestling with whether or not they'll care. They ask how my family is holding up with the process, but it seems weird to ask that and not ask why it's happening. Anyways, the past couple days have been rough. Without having my daughter around, I got an idea of what my life is going to look like after STBXW moves out. It's been empty, lonely, and I've been trying everything to get out of my own head. I've been listening to LACGAL on repeat, taking walks, talking to people. And yet I still get mad and frustrated with everything and feel the same depression I felt on D-Day, albeit not as intense. I was coming today to ask for those of you who have gone through divorce with children. What did you do to cope with the emptiness and loneliness when you didn't have your children around? Being by myself without my little girl has been dragging me down into the hole again, and I don't want to get stuck there like before. Update. Unfortunate late night thoughts. Before my rant, wanted to give a quick thank you to everyone in this subreddit for all the kind words and advice I've received throughout this process. If I hadn't been directed to this subreddit, I would be off far worse than I am now, so thank you to every single one of you so much. But tonight I went out with a couple friends and had a few drinks and started having some thoughts that really hit hard tonight, that I've even had over the past couple days. This is more or less what I told my therapist after going out. There was a gorgeous bartender and another attractive woman at the bar that I thought about hitting on, and yet, all I could think of was my STBXW. I wanted to text her and go off on her and tell her how upset I was. I wanted to think that by doing that it would undo everything. I'm not looking for reconciliation. But I wish there was a way I could just go back and re-experience all the good that was in this marriage all over again. I'm still pissed off and I hate her at this point, but there's that small part that still loves her. I thought about asking for a number and whatnot, and yet it still hurt to even do that. On this one, I'm not asking for advice, because reality is already know the answer. Let go and move on. But I just want that woman back. The woman I thought was gorgeous and willing to give everything to, I still want back. She never will, and likely was never there to begin with. But the lies that I had to tell myself to feel that way made it so real, and so worth holding on to that I want nothing more right now. Since being gone on vacation, it's been weird not having her ask me how my day has been and hearing how we miss each other and how excited we are to be back together. Most of me right now is anxious and depressed to get back to reality, and yet, a small part of me is excited just to see her even though everything is different. I've been trying to out-wrestle the passion we talked about previously with the pain, and yet passion is still winning out. I know it'll take time, but I just want my heart to finally accept what my mind has known for a long time. I know I'm not ready to date, but I really want to feel like I did before I met the STBXW, confident, steadfast, and mentally strong. Now, I'm finding myself feeling the exact opposite and crushed. To all of you out there who feel the same way, I'm sorry you've had to experience this, and I'm sorry whoever you were in love with and loved with everything couldn't even give you the bare minimum. I'm still not out of this, and I know that with time, this too shall pass, but I just feel like such an idiot and so weak to keep feeling like this. Fourth story. Cheating. Infidelity. I want to start off by saying this is a throwaway account. Backstory: I am in the military and went away for 5.5 months. During that time I downloaded Tinder and Bumble because before I left my wife and I were on bad terms. We were in couples counseling and it wasn't working. I had Tinder and Bumble for a few months and talked to women on it, but never actually met up with them. It's sad, but I honestly just wanted to feel wanted by someone who wasn't always angry and controlling. Fast forward to April. I delete both of those apps because I decided I wanted to try with my wife again. I stopped talking to all of those women on text and just ghosted them. My wife came to visit me for almost a month and it was rocky, but good. By the end of it, she suspected something and went into my phone while I was sleeping and found messages and pictures from other women. She confronts me about it and I tell her the truth once she gives the names knowing she has gone through my phone. She winds up texting a few of the women from her phone and asking if I had ever met up with any of them. They all say no, and all say they didn't even know I was married. Two girls even called her apologizing for even talking to me. Before she leaves, we come to an agreement that after my last month away, when it's time to return home, that I would and we would begin to rebuild and work on our marriage. We argued here and there and I started getting a gut feeling, I guess. So I asked her if there was anything she is hiding. And if so, come clean, because mind you, I didn't have to go back home. I had an opportunity to go to another state for work. We agreed that the only reason I was coming home was to try and fix what had been broken by me. She said she really wanted me to come home and that she had nothing to hide. Fast forward again to the week I get home. I have a feeling something's off still, so I ask again and once again she says no. A few more days pass and I can't shake the feeling. So once again I ask, and after hours of her lying to me, the truth comes out. She had downloaded Tinder, and that was it. I say, okay, is that everything? After a few more hours it comes out that she had Hinge and just those two. Same thing continues. She said she never gave any of the guys her number. Truth comes out again that she did give her number. I gave it a few days and felt something still because she kept lying and more information kept coming out. So a few days pass and I bring it up again. She said she went on 2 dates and that one of the dudes tried to kiss her and she denied his advances. Also comes out later that she spent 3 hours at a dude's house all while I was gone. She initially said nothing happened and I knew it was a lie. Some time passed that night and I told her I wanted the truth and she begged me to stay if she told me the truth. She told me she sucked his dick but they didn't have sex. I asked for their names and numbers so I could text them like she did the girls in my phone. She kept refusing and refusing, causing me to believe she had more to hide. She said, why do they need to get involved? They didn't know. I brought up the girls that she texted in Florida and she said that it was different, meaning there's definitely more to the story she's not telling. She says she did all of this as retaliation and revenge for my betrayal. But the difference is I never slept with anyone else or even met up with anyone else. Yes, I acknowledge my infidelity, but she is playing the victim and steadily blaming me for what she did. When I gave her multiple opportunities to come clean, I flew back to the other side of the country under the impression that she had done nothing and I was coming back to work on our marriage. Am I the dick? Did I deserve this? If so, then it is what it is. My wife admitted to cheating on me physically after denying for days. In retaliation to me having Tinder and Bumble while I was away for 5.5 months, I didn't physically meet up with anyone. Fifth story. Wife cheated on me with best friend. What do I do? She has gained a lot of weight over our relationship and has become mostly unattractive to me. I have done my best to be supportive and patient in every way. She said she missed the chase and flirting from me. What do I do? Did I do something wrong? What should I have done differently? My wife, F27, and me, M27, have been together for 7 years and married for 5. I met my mentioned best friend, M26, just before I got married around 6 years ago. My wife was introduced to my friend about a year later. Since then we would regularly spend time together until I left that job and we moved away about 2 years ago. We still stayed in contact with my friend through long distance. My wife and him would talk on occasion platonically. My wife and I, like any marriage, have had our own hurdles in our marriage. When we first started dating, she was about 110 pounds and 5 feet 2. After some time she began to consistently gain weight, to the point where she is now nearly 180 pounds. My physical attraction to her has also declined as a result, leading to less intimacy. I have tried to talk with her about it and help where I could, but ultimately I can't make her do anything that she doesn't want to. Just because I know there may be some people out there playing devil's advocate. I have stayed mostly the same since we first were together. I've gained about 15 pounds of muscle since, but that's about it. I also am not expecting or desiring for her to be at her weight in high school. When we got married she was at a healthy 130-ish, which I was just fine with. After the last time we talked about her weight, she became frustrated and vented to my friend about it. From my understanding this is where she admitted she had some attraction to him, and a mutual crush formed, that I was not aware of at the time. This happened about a year ago, and I have not said anything to her about her appearance or my attraction to her since our last discussion. Recently we were on a trip and stopped by to visit my friend for a few days, as we hadn't seen him in a while. On the last night we were there, it seems something happened between them, and after I went to bed, they hooked up. She later admitted it to me after I noticed she was acting off. Both her and my friend have been in relationships where they had been cheated on, so they were the last two I would have expected to be the ones to cheat. I know my decrease in attraction to her may have contributed, as she claims she missed the flirting and the chase. I find it almost forced to do those things if I'm not genuinely attracted to her as much as I once was. While we still have intimacy, it happens less frequently than in the past because of this. I personally think I have been very patient with her on letting her figure it out herself, and let her know I'm willing to help if she wants it, as this has been an ongoing struggle for years now. At one point I even offered for her to fill her sexual needs somewhere else if she wasn't getting what she needed from me, but only if she discussed it with me first, just so I was aware of what is going on. After their hookup I'm at a loss of what to do. I still love her and I haven't ever got along with another woman as well as her, but I feel my efforts have been a waste and betrayed by both of them now. I feel I have tried everything I could to help her make it easier for her, but it just doesn't seem to have helped. I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm honestly just looking for some different perspectives on the situation. I can provide more details for anyone willing to give their opinion. Sixth story. Girlfriend knowingly cheated on me. I've been in a relationship with this girl for 3 years strong. In fact, she wanted to marry me. We recently had a hiccup because I made the mistake of making her feel like I'm choosing a friend over her. In short, I made a female, lesbian friend online that lives all the way across the planet from me. I still spent time with my GF and made sure she got the assurance she needed, but it wasn't enough, which caused a rift in our relationship, which I admittedly kinda brushed her off when she tried to talk to me about it, and from my perspective, I was only brushing her off because I felt like it was unfair I couldn't have a female friend, yet she has all these male friends. She would always tell me I can remove them if you want. I always thought, no, you don't need to remove your male friends, because I trust you. Do the same for me? Well, it escalated. After talking it out with her, she admitted she kinda started falling out of love with me because of the whole ordeal and will need time to get over it, saying I'm hoping I can get over this, because I want things to work. I still love you and I still see a future with you. Cut to a couple weeks later, and even though we got onto the topic of breaking up, she would tell me I would very likely want you back, and why would there be another man? I find out she's texting another guy whom she works with, saying I would be lucky to be with you too and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be thinking of you, miss you. What makes it worse is this workplace is known for tossing around relationships and sleeping with one another whom are still in relationships. In fact, the guy she was flirting with via text from their numbers, which she had hidden as dad extra phone, is also currently in a relationship. I confronted her, and she broke in tears. After a little back and forth with our sporadic emotions, I told her I still love her, and I really do, and that I still want to be with her. She told me she doesn't deserve a second chance and she doesn't deserve me. I told her I want to give her a second chance, which prompted her to cuddle me and tell me I'm amazing. So as of now, she let me block the guy's number for her, because she couldn't bring herself to do so. IDK if it's because she really didn't want to, or because she genuinely believed she didn't deserve a second chance from me. I still need to ask her about that. All I know now is that we have agreed to take our time and work back into as close as the relationship has been before if we can. Giving each other space, but also making sure we are spending time together. She pinky promised me, a promise neither of us have ever broken. She would not associate with this guy anymore, and if she had to, it'll only be for professional purposes, work purposes only. I spoke to the guy myself through her number and it seems like he's backing off, at least for now. But yeah, we're working on each other and ourselves at the same time. And it seems like we both still want the relationship to work. But now we both have a bunch of mental hurdles we need to work through ourselves as well. My question is, where do you think I should go from here? How should I proceed? My plan is to give her all the attention she needs and get her to feel like she is the most important girl to me. Again, give her space but also as much love as she wants. I'm working on making the personal changes that are needed, and she has admitted she has seen all the effort from me. She tried telling me that she loves me in a platonic way now, but her actions say otherwise, because she admitted to me that when we cuddle, she still loves it. When I give her all the small things and other lovings, she still loves it. She admitted she's still sexually attracted to me. Hell, her eyes still dilate when she looks me in the eyes. She even agreed with me that none of that is platonic. I feel like she's in a very confusing spot right now and needs space to figure herself out. I'm going to give that to her, but also be there if she needs me. But what do you think? Did I mess up that bad? Am I going about this right? Is there any advice you think would help us?